well, this is a 16 by 16 inch canvas. My sketch probably going to get kind of messy because I stained it this morning, and that stain won't be dry for a day or two, but I'm not going to wait that long to begin working on it. What I'd like to do is a prairie elevator. It's an old structure, you know, the old style of them. Well, I don't know if there are very many left on the prairies, on the Canadian prairies. They've gone to more what they call inland grain terminals, which are far more industrial looking things. But these old grain elevators, they were kind of jaunty, you know, they had a nice character to them. Often when they were decommissioned, the rail lines that serviced them as well were decommissioned, which is why the grain elevator shut down. Sometimes the local farmers would buy them, form a cooperative, and use them on site. The very odd time, they were actually moved and also used by a group of farmers to store their grain. Anyway, they had a lot of character, and I think I'd like to do one of those. I haven't done one for a while. So I'm just going to put a mark here for horizon and one here for horizon. Might change, we'll see. And I'm probably going to, this seems counterintuitive, but I'm going to put a line pretty much directly down the center of the canvas. You will see why pretty soon. Now I'm being very cocky when I say that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I think we'll go about a width something like that. These lines are fairly straight. That's going to change. Okay, let's establish the roof line. I think we'll go up in that direction. Again, you know, jaunty roof, jaunty old roof. They always had a hatch. Always had a hatch in the top. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, that hatch typically would be here. I'm not going to worry about it. Alright, and we come to an area here where the large bins on the side of the grain elevator began. Actually, that would have been more like that. Almost always a window somewhere in the center here. Who knows? Might be covered over by now. It's been many years ago on this old guy. This area here is much narrower than this area, which was much fatter. These below this line were bins to hold the grain. Above it was called the cupola. That's where the equipment was that ran the conveyor belt that lifted the grain up to the top of the grain elevator. And actually, the conveyor belt would have run here. And there was something called a saucer that you could swing around some pipes to distribute grain to different bins. Each side in this case would probably be, maybe 3 bins on either side. Anyway, maybe I'm just blithering here pointlessly, but I have a bit of history with these things, and I Always kind of liked them. Now, this might be, we'll see how this is. See if I'm going to do this right. Typically there was a drive-through shed that the grain trucks, the farmers would come in their trucks. There was a scale in there. They would drive their trucks up the driveway, park in the shed where the trucks could be weighed. And the grain buyer would grade their grain, whatever it was, and make their agreements as to what price they'd get for it. Okay, that was almost always raised. Let's make our bottom kind of irregular. And on this side, there used to be a railroad track. It would come from the trucks, get dumped into a pit, over to a conveyor, up the conveyor, and then down a chute into the saucer and distributed into whichever bin the grain buyer would decide it would have to go into. Alright, this is an old one, not a very big one. And we need to make that more crooked. I think our distant horizon, I think that's about right. So we're going to just put that line in. It's a little bit tentative, but it's okay. I'm putting another line in about here. To indicate groundwork that's a little closer. Okay. I guess I didn't need this. Okay. Guessing at proportions a little bit, but looks about right to me. I think actually that I'm going to narrow this door a little bit. Now we're going to look through it. Maybe that's, maybe the door is missing. Maybe it's just, seeing as it's not being used, it's just gone, so we could look through it. But seeing as we're looking up, you might see the shadow of the door on the other side as well. In which case, you would also see, more than likely, this distant horizon. That might all change. We're not going to worry about that right now. Okay, I think we'll have a fascia on that wall. There was a window to allow daylight in up here. And these are just bins. So, I'm going to have to come up with some kind of a strange design here, just to indicate that it's old and weathered. I'm not going to worry about painting planks or painting siding or painting any of that. I'm really just going to kind of treat the grain elevator as an interesting shape, and we'll just go from there. I'm not sure what I'm going to do there yet. There. Now it looks like a map of maybe, I don't know. Was that Indonesia? No. No, I don't know what that is. Alright, no, that's too central. You know what I'm doing? I'm worrying about stuff that I shouldn't even think about right now. I suppose what I should do next is, I can't wipe this too much because, as I said, the whole canvas is still pretty wet. Picking up charcoal, but it's imbued with paint in there as well. So I think my sketch is more or less okay. Looking at it, I think there are a few things I will change. But let's just lay some paint in here for the moment and just have a look at it. I like the feeling of you'll see right on the upper corners, grain elevators always had copper wire running right along the top of it, and those served as grounding points for lightning. Those prairie thunderstorms, you get a grain elevator full of grain dust and you have a potential for quite an explosion on your hands. So they were protected that way. Okay, there's our cupola rooftop. Our window, you know, I'm going to raise it. It doesn't have to be quite that high. I think I'm going to bring it right up to under the eave like that. Now this, I'm going to raise this roof a little bit. I'm not going to make it too much higher here. Or sorry, I'm not going to go down as low as I had it. You know, and like I say, every time you touch that canvas, you want to, if you see an improvement can be made, then make it. Also, I don't want to exaggerate these bits of roof overhanging too far. If they hang over too far, they give the impression of a smaller building. Now, you might notice that we are standing and looking at it directly on this line. So to the left-hand side of the elevator, due to visual foreshortening, we will see the downward slope towards us of these roofs at an angle. Here we're looking directly down the side of the elevator, so they will appear quite straight. Small detail, important detail. Yes, I'm intentionally wobbling my lines around a little bit. I think this line is actually pretty good. But the roof might sag a little bit, so we'll do that. Okay, we just have to decide where that building ends. Okay. Something like that. Okay, we're getting too messy. Don't worry about that. Stop worrying about that. All right, our doorway. Okay. Now, yeah, you know, I might even just have that doorway left dark. But I'm going to remind myself of something here. There were often signs put on the post here when you entered, and we'll call this the entrance. And those signs were really reminders to the truck drivers that because you're in a grain elevator with a lot of grain dust, no smoking. You know, no open fuel. Stay in your truck, or put your parking brake on, or advertising fertilizers, you know, all kinds of things. But they added a bit of interest to these old sheds because they might have a different color. Okay, for now I'm going to put in the shadow of another door back there. There, you can see light out the other side, but it's kind of dubious, it's kind of doubtful that I'm going to leave it that way, but let's pretend that we're going to do that for the time being. Okay, let's put a bit of something interesting in there, and I will just put in my horizon. Or is it your horizon? I don't know. Somebody's horizon here. And I suppose I should continue it through there, just in case that door isn't blacked out. Or, you know, it's possible that the fire door is closed and the closed door is open, so yeah, then you can see a bit of equipment inside or what have you. Anyway, often on these grain elevators, especially the old ones, there was a space here that was maybe only 4 feet wide, but that's where the grain buyer would stand in front of one of those old balance scales to weigh the trucks. And then he'd have a little podium with his notes and his logbook and what have you. Okay, that's the base of it. I will need to decide some aging points on the side of the elevator, something to kind of keep things interesting. I'm going to have a sit. But that's the gist of it. Next time you see it, it will have, I'll have made those decisions. All right? Talk to you soon. Bye.